The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning, Ohio and Michigan. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show, where for the last 16 years we have bringing you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Hey, if you've been listening to our show long enough, you know I never brag, but I'm going to brag today. I am so proud of myself. We have been getting your letters to bring on a business broker, but we haven't had the position on our show to bring on any new experts until now. We found the top business broker in the state of Ohio and Michigan with GLBA Business Associates. Let me introduce you to our new expert. Good morning, Brad Ruth.
Good morning. How's it going, Steve?
Hey, I'm so glad this is your first show, but I got to tell you, I'm bragging because we got so many letters, people asking us to do a show on buying and selling a business, and we were so lucky to find you, Brad. First of all, tell everybody about your business.
Well, so I've a little bit about me. I graduated college, and my wife and I were in real jobs for about 3 years, and then we decided that we were going to move from Michigan to Ohio and start a restaurant concept that no one ever heard of, which is Bellacino's. If you're in Michigan, you've heard of them, Bellacino's or Mancino's. So I did that back in 1998, and we started a business from scratch, which is really more challenging than I ever thought it would be. And it ended up being the second store open, went to 130 locations. We didn't. I just had one, but we ended up being the top 5 store out of 130 locations for pretty much the 18 years that we were doing it. So did that, and then got to the point where it's a challenging business, and I just we kind of had enough of it, and we got a little burned out. So in 2016, I started up the this business. It's a Great Lakes Business Advisors. And what I do, the reason I did is because I was looking to sell my business, and I met with a couple of brokers, and I just didn't feel they had the expertise I was looking for. And they've never been business owners. And I just felt that was important. So I did some research and ended up, I took some classes, did some training, had some mentors, ended up learning the business. And then I've been doing it since it's 2016. Started out part-time. I sold my business in 2017, and I ended up doing this full-time in 2018. So that's what I've been doing. I've got my back, it's credentials. I'm a certified business intermediary. I'm also a certified exit planner. And then this year I got my certified mergers and acquisitions. It's a designation. So that's what I've been working on, is just kind of building my experience and my background and my knowledge of the business so I can be one of the best there is.
Well, I got to tell you, I've never shared this with you before, but I do a big restaurant show. I used to be a chef many, many years ago after culinary school. The restaurant business is the toughest business to get started in. The people don't realize the hours that are involved when you own a restaurant, and everybody thinks you just make multi-millions of dollars. The markup is not very much. So just the fact that you started off in the restaurant business and what you developed it just shows your experience and your knowledge, how important it is for a show like this.
Yeah, restaurant business, as you know, Steve, it's just a very, yeah, like you said, low margins. We start out, we were out, at no revenue. As my wife and I were 25 at the time. We didn't know anybody in our city that we moved to. We it's still Ohio is where we moved to, so we didn't know anybody. So we had to go out. We felt the food was good enough. We just went out and we'd give out free samples to everybody around town, and we did business delivery and just slowly built it over time. Ended up doing a lot of catering. Pharmaceuticals were pretty big back in the day, and then we fed Akron U and Kent State sports teams. Just found all these little niches to kind of make it work. And it's a business that just takes. It's a grind, as you know. I would put in 60, 80 hours a week. Our first probably year open, I probably worked 100 hours a week because I was open to close until we got our staff in place. We got pregnant the one day we had off, which was Thanksgiving. We opened in September 26th of 98. We got pregnant on Thanksgiving, our one day off. And so then, 9 months later, we had to kind of adjust to bringing in managers and having a home life. So it was challenging.
How is your experience in the restaurant business, owning your own restaurant? How's that help you now with selling businesses?
Well, I can relate to business owners. The stress, everyone's always asking, why would you sell that? When I sold my business, why would you sell that business? You have such a thriving business. Everybody, you're like the mayor of our city. Everyone knows you, and the business is thriving. And what you don't is, what people don't understand is you still have that. It's like having homework when you're in high school and college. That always has to get done. When you own a business, it's always on your mind. We were open, 358 days a year, and it's always on your mind. We had our bakers that were in at 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. So the doors were only closed for probably 4 or 5 hours a day. So it's always on your mind. And it's always the grind. Is our sales there? Is there enough money for payroll? We got to pay these bills. How do we trim costs? It's all that as business owners, the longer they do it, just you get burned out. You're looking for a change, and then you've got staff with a staff of 40. The challenges of having employees. I can relate to business owners. I mean, when you have employees, the cool thing about employees, you don't just get the employees, you get their ex-boyfriend, their kids, their current husband, and all the other baggage that comes along with it. So that makes it very challenging. You got personalities and things to deal with. So I've been there and done that, and I know what business owners are going through.
Well, the great news is we have Brad for the next year, and he'll be on with us every month. Hey, Brad, do you sell businesses, but do you also do real estate too?
Yeah, I do. I got my real estate license back during COVID. I got my CBI with, for the business brokerage side, and then I got it's my real estate license back then too. Because during COVID, I thought it was going to be a tough year. I ended up selling, I think it's 8 or 9 businesses that year, but we also had a lot of time on our hands. So I was able to get my real estate license. I got my CBI, and just I figured if I can't go out and see the public, I can study and I can build my resume. So that's what I did. Well, and what happens is a lot of business owners, once they trust you, they want you to sell the business and the real estate, all together. Just kind of, we trust you. We built the confidence in you. Let's just kind of take care of it all. And so, that's what I do.
Well, I'm going to share something else with you too. I was selling one of my businesses about 20 years ago, and I hated it because people would be calling my business. I was always afraid one of my employees might hear. I got a lot of tire kickers, and a friend of mine said, why don't you get a business broker? And it's like, what is a business broker? I actually sat down and found out what you do saves a person so much time and effort, and the legwork that you do, the due diligence you do. I've got so much respect for what you do, Brad.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's what people think. Oh, you just sell businesses. It's the same as selling real estate. I mean, I sell real estate. Real estate, you walk through the building, you look at the if it's a commercial property, which is what I sell, we're going to look at the the cap rate, and is it in good sound condition? It's relatively simple. When you're selling a business, what I turn down 9 out of 10 business owners that I meet with because the business isn't sellable. Either I call it a hobby, because they working their butt off and they're not making any money, or we got a business owner that feels the value is, let's say my business valuation will say it's worth 1.5 million. The business owner goes, well, I want 3 million, otherwise I'm not selling. I'm like, well, it's like having a car that the Kelley Blue Book says it's worth 50 and you want to sell it for 80. You're going to get no lookers. You're not going to find a unicorn that's going to buy that. No one's going to look at a business when it's overpriced. So I always talk with business owners and try to help them understand it's really important to value a business properly. The last probably 7 or 8 business I sold over asking price because I put a reasonable price on it where we had multiple buyers and they understand that you're not insane. Like you actually understand what the value of your business is and it's not overpriced. The reason most businesses don't sell is because they've got the business overpriced or it's just not a sellable business. And so I do my work on the front end with tax returns and looking at standard operating procedures, looking at the business owner, how it's being run, and make sure it's a sellable business. So I don't sell a lot of businesses every year, anywhere between last year, I only did 3, but there were 3 large businesses, right, and they're quality businesses. And I take quality over quantity any day. I did quantity early in my career, just doesn't work. They're not sellable.
We just got our first text of your first show. This is from Jerry in Cleveland. He said, I am so glad there's a show like this. I have been looking for a show. I'm one of the people who wrote you. My question is, I was interested in buying a franchise restaurant, but I keep reading about all these well-known restaurants shutting down and going out of business. What are your thoughts?
I was part of a franchise concept, but I got in before there was royalties. And what people don't tell you about franchises, and this is my the challenge I have with in the restaurant business, Steve, as you know, our bottom line profit is somewhere between 5 and 20%, and I'd say the average is probably 10 to 12. When you say, "Oh, I'm going to buy a franchise restaurant," and then you get in there and you're paying, let's say, a 5% royalty. Well, a 5% royalty is only 5% of sales. Well, it's 50% of profit, and you need profit and working capital to build that business. So I always highly recommend business buyers to look for existing restaurants. They already have the staff in place. They already have the concept nailed down. They're profitable. Otherwise, I wouldn't be selling it. And you're not tied to, when you're in a franchise, when they say, hey, you got to do a remodel because we're changing the look of the place, it's going to cost you $200,000. And it's not, should I do it? It's, you have to do it.
You have to.
There's a lot of things with franchises that make it challenging. You have a brand name and it's well known. That's good. But is it profitable, like bottom line profit wise? And you can find a lot of restaurants that are non-franchises that are very high quality restaurants that is like buying a franchise, because let's say it's been around for 10, 15, 20 years. It's an institution in the city it's in.
If you're watching the show right now on YouTube, we're running Brad's phone number and his website. If you're listening on iHeart or radio or Spotify, we'll be giving out the phone number. What is there a certain type of business you specialize in selling, Brad?
Yeah, there's a few areas of expertise. Restaurants, of course. I do a lot of restaurants because I owned them, I understand them, and I know how to sell them, even the most challenging ones. I only take profitable restaurants that make sense. I also specialize in it's the HVAC, the plumbing, electricians, roofing businesses, and then manufacturing. Like those are the areas. Do I sell other business? Have I sold others? Yes, but I'm trying to really narrow it down to a few areas of expertise, because it's just I have buyers in those areas and I know what the market is for it. I have a lot of connections there, and it just makes a lot of sense to kind of narrow the the focus.
When should a business owner start thinking about selling their business?
I mean, business owners should start thinking about it probably 2 to 3 years before they're ready to sell. Um, a lot of people call me and say, and sometimes they're ready. If they're running the business properly, they're ready. But like I just had one that called me in December, and it was a nice restaurant, absentee owner, which is highly unusual, and nice profits and growing business. And we talked in December. We put on the market, at the end of December, and we're going to probably have it under a letter of intent probably this month. We had one, and so that's. But typically 2 to 3 years, we want to look at your standard operating procedures. We want to see, how involved, the owner is in the business and how clean the financials are. I mean, clean financials are the most important part of the business. And I look at profit and losses because I want to see where the bodies are buried. What I mean by that is there's things we can add back to improve cash flow for the seller discretionary earnings, which we call SDE, and then for the EBITDA. And so those are the things I look at, and the P&Ls will tell me a little bit more what's buried, but the tax returns is a real story. And I sell a business based on tax returns, not on cash you've taken out of the business, barters you've done. I want to see what what you're reporting on your taxes.
I think one thing that's really tough about your business is someone who has started a business and grown their business. It's their baby. And when it's your baby, you think it's worth probably a lot more than it really is. And you give them a dose of reality. How do you deal with that?
That's probably the biggest challenge I deal with is having to tell people that their baby's ugly. It's really not a pleasant experience, but all business owners, they want to get paid for all the blood, sweat, and tears they shed to get in this, to build their business. And then when they get it up and going, it's not like real estate. Like in real estate, if a business is, for example, if a piece of real estate, commercial real estate, is churning off $100,000 in rental income, a 10% cap, they call it, which is you're dividing that 100,000 by 10%, and that's a cap rate. That business would be worth $1 million. Because you have checks coming in the mail, every month you get paid. When it's a business, it might be worth, and 100,000 is not a very profitable business. It's not something that's very valuable. You really want to be at least over 150, 200,000 at a minimum. I mean, I like to see, $300, $400, $500, $1 million and plus. But I'm talking on the small side of it. You really want to, let's just say that it's it's a $200,000 business. Every industry is different, so it's a multiple of that. It's somewhere between 1.5 and 3 in that range. If it gets over 500,000, $1 million, you could get a 5 multiple or a 7 multiple possibly. It all depends on cash flow and the debt service and the buyer. But in every industry is different. Restaurants get a very low multiple. It's rare to see a 3. You'll probably see a 1.5 to a 2 multiple, sometimes a 2.5. Really nice restaurants will go for 3. The one I have right now, it could go for 3 multiple. So it's a multiple of SDE in the restaurants. A lot of business, it's a multiple of the EBITDA. And I have sales comps, just like everyone has house comps and you have a Kelley Blue Book. I have the same thing for businesses in every different category. So I go out and find the sales comps, and we come up with an average of those sale prices based on the sales, the EBITDA, and the SDE in that range. That gives us a concentration.
Brad, how come there's businesses that never actually sell?
If you look out on Biz Buy Sell, which is probably the biggest marketplace for the biggest marketplace for businesses, and there's a lot of people out there that are either owners trying to sell it themselves or a broker that's new or just doesn't know how to sell a business. And a lot of them will say, well, the owner says I'm not selling for less than 3 million, so I'll list it for 3 million. Well, that's why I turn down 9 out of 10 business owners. I only take business to market that I know I can sell. And I don't want to promise you something I can't do. So I won't take a listing if I don't think I can sell it. I usually charge a listing fee up front, which I deduct off the success fee at the end, because I'm asking for a commitment from a business owner, but I'm only going to ask them to commit if I'm committed to selling the business. And I'll tell them, hey, this one's going to be, I'm 50-50, and there's some I know when I take it to market, it's going to be 100%, and there's going to be a bidding war. Last couple I've sold, I've had a bidding war of 8 to 10 buyers on it, because the buyers understand that I understand what the value is. And when we start at a price like this, what I just did, a restaurant and C-store combined, we went to market business and real estate at 1.3. We sold at 2.1 million.
Wow.
And a plumbing company I took the market at 2.1. We sold at 2.6. Because what happens is once buyers understand that the numbers make sense, it's all based on tax returns. I know what I'm doing. I've got a seller that understands that. Then ego gets involved, and then we drive the price up because they know there's not many nice businesses out there when they want to. And I tell them, when you run across, if you see one of mine for sale, it's going to be a good business, and it's going to be SBA pre-qualified. So I know I can get the deal financed. I don't take a business to market unless I can get a deal done. Don't do it. I don't depend on owner, seller financing or something like that.
Brad, I told you when we first started talking, the show goes by so fast. Tell people, and I got to tell you, we've gotten 8 people thanking us for your show already. That's pretty good for the first show. Tell people how they can reach you.
I've got my cell number on here. It's a 330-524-8205. You can see, it's my website. You can see me on LinkedIn. I've got almost 7,000 followers on LinkedIn. That's probably the best way to connect me. Just call me or text me if you want to set up a time, and I can look at businesses and know if we should work together. Once I see the financials, tax returns, probably half an hour to an hour, I'll know if we got something. So, if not, how do we fix it? That's value acceleration. How do we fix it? So I've got a group of consultants I work with that can help us with that.
Well, Brad will be back with us again next month. Brad, great first show. I'm so glad we've got you, and we'll see you next month.
All right, Steve. I appreciate it.
Thanks, bud.
Talk to you soon.
That's Brad Ruth. We're going to go to a quick break. We come back. We've got a great show for you. We'll be right back.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.